Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the South Florida Tribune podcast. My name is Scott Morgan. We're off the Motor City Madmouth, along with Candy Ebling. How you doing, Candy?
I'm doing well. You, Scott?
I'm doing great, and Lynn Lessell is here to talk about her Me Monday column. Lynn, take it away.
Hi. Well, it is Monday, and there's a lot that should be happening around me. Me meaning each of us individually, and so I'm wondering, what's going well for you guys today?
Well, I'm just making rapid changes around the network to try to bolster the brand. So I'm looking to expand the guest pool, and I'm getting that done and building my LinkedIn, and a lot of other things are happening within the network as well as the Tribune per se. Candy?
Wonderful.
I'm having a good day. I had a good day at work, and now I'm having a good time here, just sitting here, going to chat with you, Lynn, and work on our website. So it's all good.
Wonderful. So, if I'm understanding you correctly, it sounds like you're back on the physical location at your job. Is that right?
I've actually always been at the physical location of my job because I work for a bank.
Okay.
So the bank has just changed. Right now, we're only a drive-through branch, and then our bankers are calling people. So we haven't had people inside the lobby, and that continues. But my hours they lessened the hours during most of the pandemic, and now they've gone back to regular hours.
Yeah, we always do these broadcasts physically, so that's my way of getting out of the house. I'm a caged lion who's not a caged lion when it comes to doing this. So go ahead. What's going on with you
so
today?
when we're talking about what's going well, I would actually love to hear about your travels.
Well, they're great. 3,000 miles in 8 days.
You made a trip.
Yeah.
A trip just recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I've made a lot of tricks as well as trips, so it's okay. But yeah, 3,000 miles over the course of 8 days. It was a lot of fun. We made it up to Nashville, spent some time with some family, went down to Daphne, Alabama. If you don't know where that is, folks, if you know where Mobile, you know where Daphne is. Then we worked our way down through the Panhandle. Okay. We went down to all the beaches, all the big beaches there. Got that off the bucket list to determine what beach we really want to go to down the road. So all in all, 3,000 miles in 8 days, a lot of driving. Gave me an opportunity to chill out, relax, make some decisions, and have some good time all the way around. How was your Memorial Day, Lynn?
It was actually very interesting. I had a few of my old friends from when I was growing up back in my old neighborhood actually got together on a Zoom call. So it was kind of fun because we were a bunch of people from a whole bunch of different places. And, the nice thing about it is that nobody ever thought of doing that before this pandemic. And now, I'm getting to connect with a lot of people I don't normally get to see, no matter how far or how close they live. So that was really kind of wonderful. And I can't say I had as much of an exciting time in 8 days as you did on your trip, because I actually didn't leave my office, but it's been all good. So I can't complain. I'm launching a couple of new programs, and that's going really well. So I'm happy to say. So one of the things that I actually wanted to talk about today with you guys is about exercise and eating regimens, because I've spoken to quite a few people recently who have kind of concurred with me about the fact that since we've been home through this stay-at-home order, that it seems as though a lot of those routines for many people have changed. Quite a few people are just trying to now get back to the gym, but some are very reluctant because they don't really want to take any chances just yet. So it's been quite a while that we've been making some changes to our routines. So I was kind of wondering if any of your movement or eating regimens might have changed, stayed the same, or if maybe there's something new that you've been doing to improve upon something you might have done before you didn't have the opportunity.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I don't eat at Subway like I used to, but that's all right. I get my Diet Coke fill through that thing called 2 liters and 6-pack, so we're doing all right there. And, I've actually had to do a little cooking, but I'm still keeping the weight situation in check, keep my 1,200 calorie count. So I don't think it's been that big of a deal for me. I really don't. It's all about trying to make sure yeah, no, I mean, I'll probably end up doing a lot of the things here now, and they'll carry over when things do become more manageable. What about you, Candy?
I would say one of the things that we've done is we don't eat out as much, and so I think I've gone back to doing some more of the cooking. And one of the things I found recently is I refound my George Foreman grill, and instead of grilling or frying, or anything like that, I've been cooking things on our George Foreman. So that's a lot healthier because you don't have the grease and you're not, using oil and that kind of thing. So for that standpoint, we've been eating a little differently.
I really appreciate you guys sharing that with me. I can honestly say for myself, I have absolutely noticed that I have been spending time in the kitchen, 3 meals a day. And I got so busy with work that I started to feel like, wow, I'm spending all this time in the kitchen. I don't have that much time to be able to prepare every single meal. And I actually started shortcutting, even though I know better. And I started just grabbing like quick things to eat, quick snacky foods for lunches, breakfast and lunches. And I noticed after a little less than a week that I started really not feeling so well. And I started to think about what I was doing differently, and it seemed as though I wasn't preparing those meals. And so the crazy part about it is that with this whole stay-at-home order, the fact that I started really preparing a lot of fresh whole foods in the kitchen for each meal actually became something that was better for me. And I never would have noticed that what I was doing before was kind of like sucking my energy and making me feel worse until I actually had to make that change. So I actually feel like I've improved upon whatever I was doing before. So the interesting part about that, and I'm wondering how you guys feel about it, I know you've been traveling, so you've kind of been moving a lot. And Candy, you go to work every day, so you're kind of still on the run.
Well, I work every day too, but in a different way. You don't approach 2,000 followers. I work every day, but do it remotely. You don't approach 2,000 followers, okay, on Twitter by accident. You don't have 3,150 contacts on LinkedIn by accident. But I'm just kidding with you, Lynn. You know that.
No. I know. It's one of the funnier things that I've noticed was that because I'm sitting in my office here a whole lot more than I used to, because I'm not running around to different events and meeting with people as I was prior. I'm not getting as much movement either. And so it's crazy how we can take for granted the routines we had before, the way things change, and whether or not we should make a decision to either go back to the old habits or maybe stick to the new ones. So what's your take on that? Like, have your habits changed in a way that you want to keep them going? Are you going to go back to the routines that you were doing before? Any input on that?
Yeah, not completely. I think as much as these Zoom meetings challenge me, I'm getting used to them. I don't mind it. I certainly want to get to normalcy as much as I can, but I've appreciated the remote stuff as well, so I can get as much work as I have to do. And as far as eating, you know what? It's one of those things that will determine what restaurants we want to go to. We can be a little bit more selective about what we want. Doesn't hurt that Candy's a heck of a cook either. And when you talk about George Foreman's grill being, he may have lost to Muhammad Ali. His grill is a knockout. So we bought the revised one the other day at Walmart, and it is working really, really good. And it does a whole lot more than the other one. So I you know what? I've actually embraced a lot of the things we've had to adjust to, and I'll take what's good and I'll permanently utilize what I can revise. You know, I mean, this is a tough time, but we're forced to go ahead and make adjustments, and we've been forced to whether we like it or not. Candy, what's your input on that?
I would say that I used to love cooking, and I used to love grilling, and I moved down here to South Florida, and I'm like, oh, good, I'm going to grill out all year long. And then I'm like, it's too hot outside for me to grill all year long. But then I looked at it, and I'm like, and then we were looking, and I'm like, oh, wait, I have that George Foreman. I can grill right inside. It doesn't have quite the same taste or flavor, but you're still, like I said, you're not cooking with the oil and stuff like that. And I look forward to learning more recipes and things that I can cook on the grill. Like one of the things that I saw you can cook bacon in like 3 or 4 minutes, and all that fat drips off because it'll cook from the top and the bottom. I'm like, so that'll change like my timing, how long it takes me to cook certain things as well. So I guess that's one of the things. It's going to allow me to cook healthier things, and you can grill vegetables on it. Yesterday I was grilling onions on it. I'm like, So anyways, that's one of the good things. How about you, Lynn?
I don't know. You're making me hungry. So it's very interesting. I've done a lot of cooking in an air fryer, and I've been just kind of stir frying a lot on the stovetop, and I've been eating a lot of salads, a lot of salads. So all healthy stuff, and kind of staying away from a lot of the quick foods. And it's interesting because even a lot of the favorite restaurants that we used to patronize, a lot of them have limited menus. So the things that I may have ordered that were more on a healthy order when I would go out are not necessarily on their menu now, because they kind of cut back a little bit with all of this. So it kind of just makes you take stock of what you're doing every so often when you notice the difference. And statistically, it takes about 28 days to start a new habit, and we've been home for almost 3 months now, so it takes approximately 90 days for a habit to stick. So I'm kind of feeling like there's a few things that might continue to go forward and just kind of stay in a positive motion the way they are. So I'm not really going to complain. I don't know that I'll go back to everything the way I used to do it before. And I'm kind of looking at some of the changes that we've had to make because of this crisis were definitely possibilities to learn new things. And, really there's a possibility of a lot of new things to first come as everything begins to open again and we go back to our new routines. I was listening to a show not that long ago where Shaun T, who's an American fitness trainer, was talking about, starting an exercise regimen. So if you're not already involved in something, or you're feeling like you were getting a lot of movement before, you were going to the gym, now you're home and you're not getting it done. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a gym rat. That's not my thing. But
Mine neither.
Felt like I was kind of stationary. And one of the things that he said was that everybody's different. And, not everybody's going to pump weights or do the spin class or, do all kinds of hours in the gym. But if you pick one small thing that's comfortable for you, no matter how small it is, and you just commit to that for 14 days, that you'll actually feel the rewards of that. And I actually started to do that. I had been frustrated with myself because I hadn't been doing the exercise routine that I had been doing before all of this. And I guess I kind of got lazy. And I said, all right, well, I'm not going to be able to just dive right back into my 45 minutes a day because it's just not realistic. I wouldn't do it. And I just decided I have a stretching routine that if I do that first thing in the morning, it's only going to take me about 10 minutes if I start small. And I'm going to try to do that. And I have actually been doing it for over 30 days now.
Congratulations.
And I thank you. And, I'm wondering what you think about that theory of just committing to one small thing for 14 days straight, even if it's not exercise. What if it was something else? How do you think that might work?
I think it definitely makes a change, and a change for the better. I know Scott was trying to lose weight. We all go on vacation and we kind of gain a little bit of weight because you're not in your normal routine and you're eating out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And The minute he came back, he's like, okay, this is going to be my routine. I'm going to have this for these meals, and again, he's losing the weight again, and it becomes, like you said, it becomes a habit. You know, when we first got married, Scott and I both weighed a lot more. I would say between the two of us, if you added it together, between the two of us, we've lost over 100 pounds between the two of us from the time we were married till now. Yeah, and I think part of it is just discipline, and like you're right. Like, you find what works and you stick with it.
It's that thing called a lifestyle change. I know what I weighed at when I got married, 276 pounds. And when I look at my wedding pictures now, I laugh at them. Go ahead.
Well, I want to congratulate you both. You know, just recognizing those things and realizing the benefits that you're feeling from that, the changes that you've made, even over the course of a long period of time, and sticking to it, that's something to be very proud of, and I congratulate you on that. And I think you're a great example for the listeners on what they might be able to do to continue those beneficial habits that they may have developed over these past few months, and why it might be beneficial to continue, you know. So,
and I think, Lynn,
what would your recommendation be for people who go to work, Candy? Because you're the one who's like really been going back and forth every day from what you said.
Right. I think what you first have to do is you have to look at what you're doing and take one thing and change one thing to start. Because I think if you think, oh, I'm going to go on this massive diet, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, and I can't eat that, I think you take away too many things at once, and I think then it's really hard for you to keep up with it. Whereas if I think you make one change and then you get into the habit of that change, okay, well, maybe now if I changed a second thing, whether it be a month down the road, it might be easier for you to ease into things. And I think you never want to call it like a diet, because a diet, you go on and you go off. So we've made lifestyle changes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, a trip to the gym to me is a trip to the disabled list. So I had to get a personal trainer. I would be in urgent care. I'd be in trouble because I'm so aggressive and hyper that I would probably go ahead and do it. So between disabled list, urgent care, but you know, it's okay. I either believe that you give everything that you have, or you don't do it at all. And it's got me into trouble. I kid you not. My medical bills have certainly would be enough to buy an awful lot of vacations over the years, but I regret nothing. And Morris had 9 lives, and might as well make the most that I have. Morris the cat, for those of you who don't know.
You know, I really appreciate you saying that, Scott, because, you know, the truth of the matter is everybody is different, and what everybody can tolerate when it comes to exercise is definitely different. So it's really equally as important to the person who wants to go to the gym and lift the weights or do the treadmill or do the spin class as it is to the person who really enjoys just leaving their house and taking a long walk. You know, it's really not about what you do so much, I think, as the fact that we do it. And so I really want to congratulate both of you for actually making conscious lifestyle improvements, consistent, committed lifestyle choices that are beneficial to you and sticking with it. And I think we should encourage the listeners to definitely do the same thing. And one small step that they can do, Candy, like you were mentioning, is schedule something really small, maybe even in a small amount of time, to do every Monday, and start there and see how that feels.
Yep.
What do you think?
I think that sounds like a good idea. I think one of the other things is you talk about moving a little bit more. Well, one of the things they can do is don't park so close to the front door of wherever you're going in. Because everybody does it. Let's face it, we're all creatures of habit. We all want to find that closest parking spot. Oh, let me get the closest spot. I want to get in the closest spot. Well, if you go a little bit further, then you got to walk a couple more steps, and you don't realize how much those steps add up over the course of a day or a week.
Yeah, the step count, I pay attention to it for sure, and and you have to. What does it? Does it create miracles? No, but it all does add up for sure. I'm very conscious of that.
Yeah.
Step count.
And you know what? I think it sounds like you guys have really made an amazing effort over these past few months to stay really healthy and keep your lifestyle in a really great place, and that's very impressive.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'm really excited to hear how you guys have really kept it together and stayed healthy and safe doing it.
Well, you know what? The challenge when we were on the trip was, we landed in Daphne, Alabama, which was 6 hours away from Nashville. And when you're getting pounded by a lot of rain, en route to Daphne, which is outside of Mobile. But you know what was so nice about the whole thing is as we walked around on that Panhandle trip, just to go ahead and examine a lot of sites, to me, it was just so refreshing and relaxing to take these meditating drives around the country. I think so people realize that the Florida Panhandle is a great place, isn't it, Candy? The beaches?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. It's a very scenic drive, too.
You know what? I've only driven, across the Panhandle going to New Orleans. I've never actually stopped along the way. But you've got me interested now.
Well, I've done that. Taken the New Orleans trip a few times.
So you've taken I-10.
I've taken I-10. If you ever take I-10 all the way to Phoenix or L.A., you can count on 20 hours in Texas. And if you got the patience for 20 hours in Texas, then you're a better person than I thought you were. And I'm not criticizing you at all. But I-10 is definitely one where you need an awful lot of patience, that's for sure.
I only made that trip across the country once, and that was when I was moving from New York to Southern California. And we had two drivers, and we made the trip in 2.5 days. So needless to say, the only sights I saw were from the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I can appreciate that.
So we didn't stop. We didn't stop too much. But one day I hope to be able to have enough time to actually take the scenic trip across the country. And you certainly have made it sound extremely interesting. So something to look forward to.
Well, let me tell you, the scenery's okay in the Panhandle, and in anything when you get to through Texas. But yeah, New Orleans and Mobile, Alabama, Biloxi, Mississippi. Candy's never been there, but it depends on where you go. There's some scenery everywhere, but that's something that you'll have to go ahead and look at for the Travel Channel to go ahead and or get yourself a nice atlas around the country. Then you can create your trip.
There you go. Sounds awesome.
So anything else you want to add, Lynn?
Okay, so you know what? I'd like everybody to just really. I'd like to invite everybody to kind of think, all the listeners, think about something that they have been doing that they might want to keep doing, or what they've been doing that they might want to change, because there are a lot of things that are starting to open up, and things are starting to shift again. So it's important to know, what have we changed that's good that we want to hold on to, and what have we changed that we may want to change again.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm really curious about hearing your answer on this question. Even though things are starting to open up, how cautious will you be in terms of making yourself visible? Because I don't think that if people try to get into it too quick, that they may be making a mistake and putting themselves in harm's way. I intend to stay in-house and do things remote as long as I can until I'm completely convinced. And I don't know if I ever will be completely convinced that on social media, the media, or whatever, that's totally safe. Because when you work so hard up to this point to play it safe, and all it takes is one stupid interaction with somebody to put you back in the hospital, I'd like to know what's your perspective on that.
It's a very interesting question, Scott. Honestly, I think it becomes a personal decision, because everybody that goes back out again, or anybody that has been going out, they have to also make a choice as to how they're going to, present themselves. There are a lot of people that I notice that still go out without the masks, even though that's a requirement. I always take my mask with me when I'm going out and around anyone else. But everybody's making their own personal decisions. I mean, let's look at all the things that are going around the country. There's no social distancing there, and a lot of the things I see on the news don't show people with masks. So everybody's got to make a personal decision. But the most important part about that, I think, is that when you make whatever decision you make, you also have to make that decision with a full self-responsibility about whether or not you may end up getting sick. So as long as we accept responsibility for whatever ends up happening to us based on our own actions, I think that's something that we kind of have to do every day anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, you're right about that. Well, we were on the trip throughout the whole trip. Candy and I were definitely making sure that we were accountable. Candy, what do you want to add to this before we wrap up the broadcast?
Well, I think what people also have to understand is that with this virus, I know people are saying, oh, I don't need a mask, I'm not sick. I don't need a mask, I'm not sick. The mask isn't so much for yourself as to protect others, because just remember that you can be a carrier without having any symptoms whatsoever.
Yeah, don't take COVID-19 for granted. It will bite you as the numbers in Florida continue to increase. We're definitely not out of the woods for sure. So, anything else you want to add?
Well, and so I would like to just say one thing.
Sure.
Even though most of the people may be going out there wearing masks, and that's going to camouflage or conceal the smiles that they can have on their faces for others to see, I still think it's important to think of one new thing you can do for yourself that can make you smile, because when you look in the mirror, you will see that. So I'd like to invite everybody to think of something that will make them smile, and think of something that they can make sure that it happens, because as we have said many times when we've had these conversations, laughter does relieve physical tension, and it reduces stress hormones, boosts your immune system, and builds your resistance to disease, according to the Mayo Clinic. And that's what we're all looking for, to build our immune system to fight this disease. And I thank you for allowing me to share that.
My pleasure. All right, any closing thoughts, Candy?
I think so much of the time we think about others, and that rightfully so, we should. But we also need to take care of ourselves and think of ourselves from time to time. So I think, Lynn, you bringing this to light and doing the Me Mondays, which is really focusing on me, is so important. Let's face it. My husband has stated on here that his health hasn't always been the greatest. Well, if I don't take care of myself, how can I help take care of him? So I really appreciate the Me Mondays and the focus on yourself, because I think some of us are unselfish and don't do that enough.
See, I have a reputation of being an accident waiting to happen, but if I play it safe, I'll be an accident not waiting to happen. So we'll end it on that note, Lynn. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know they can get a hold of you, and then I'll wrap it up with how you get a hold of us. Go ahead, Lynn.
Okay, well, I can be reached at lynn@itswhy.com, or anybody can find my information on the South Florida Tribune.
Okay.
And so all they have to do is look up southfloridatribune.com and look up contributing writers, and that's where you'll find me. And a lot of other great information and great podcasts on the South Florida Tribune.
Well said. You took away my thunder. I like it when it comes from you anyways. It sounds a lot better. But that said, okay.
You're welcome.
Just to let everybody know, or Lynn already gave an endorsement for southfloridatribune.com, which is where, indeed, you can find all of our broadcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. The way to get a hold of us is at Tribune South on Twitter, Facebook, South Florida Tribune page, Instagram, South Florida Tribune, and I have a YouTube channel as well. you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And lastly, if you choose to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free to do so. You are listening to Me Monday here on the South Florida Tribune podcast. On behalf of Lynn Lessell, Candy Ebling, my name is Scott Morganroth of Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.